Hello, my name is Michael Shapins. Today I'd like to talk to you about a peer review system that I've developed for K-12 grade levels. The purpose of the application is to provide a method for K-12 teachers to administer and collect responses for peer reviews for class assignments. Some of the primary considerations for the application are that it must be simple in design and use, it must require minimum infrastructure to support, and it should be based on technology already in use by many K-12 teachers and schools. For that reason, the solution being presented is comprised of custom functionality built on top of Google Forms, Google Docs, and Google Sheets. It can be used by and shared with anyone with a Google account. All the implementation source code is openly available to anyone with whom the documents are shared. So let's get started. To begin, an administrator would share the master template with the teacher. The teacher would then make a copy of the template for their specific assignment. In this case, I've already done that for one labeled PR Example 1. If we open up this sheet, we will see that it allows for the teacher to provide assignment details, list of rubric questions for the peer review form, and classroom roster of students. Functionality also includes the ability to randomly pair a reviewer and reviewee student, generate and distribute peer review forms to the class of students, collect the responses from the students into a single location, and allow the teacher to send the final responses back to the students that have been reviewed. In this Google Sheet, you will see the first sheet has the assignment information. The teacher will specify their name, the title of the assignment, the class name, and the description for the assignment. In this case, Mrs. Jones' chemistry class is going to be doing a review on assignment related to understanding metals, nonmetals, and noble gases. After the teacher has filled in the assignment information, they will build the rubric questions. Here, the system will support two types of questions. A scale range question, which allows the student to pick a value between 1 and the scale range value, or a text response question. In this case, the first 4 questions are of type scale range, and they allow the student to pick a number between 1 and 6. The last question is a text response question, as denoted by the letter T. In the case of a text response question, it allows the student to type in a short paragraph response. We put in a 0 for the scale range because it's not used for text response type questions. The form will generate the questions in the order with the exact text listed here as shown. Once the teacher has filled in the questions and the assignment information, they would fill in their student class roster. The students are represented by a student ID, their Gmail email account, and their student name. The student name is only visible to the teacher that owns a spreadsheet. For the purposes of the peer reviews process, the student IDs will be used to provide anonymity. In the spreadsheet, you will see some boxes that are colored in orange. These represent fields that will be filled in by the application and should not be entered by hand by the teacher. Now that the teacher has filled in the assignment information, the rubric questions, and the class roster, she's ready to go ahead and proceed with the peer review creation process. There's a new menu that's been added for the application called the Peer Review Tools. The teacher will click on that and choose Assign Students to assign reviewer students to reviewee students. Google will require the teacher to authenticate their ID and confirm they're willing to allow Google to perform these functions for them. They click Continue, they confirm their ID, and they say, yes, I do allow for the system to do these functions on my behalf. The script is now run to assign the users. We click OK, and you will see in the student roster that the IDs appear here. In this case, student 1 will be reviewing student 4. Student 3 will be reviewing student 1. Now that we've assigned the students to each other, it is time to generate the forms and email them to the students for completion. The assignments themselves that the students will be reviewing will be handed out by the teacher outside of the system and is outside of the scope of the functionality provided. This teacher will then pick Send Peer Reviews. At this point, the system is using the information from the Assignments Information tab and the questions to build the forms, and then will email them to each of the students. It will also record the timestamp that it was sent. On the Assignment Information tab, now there's a Google Form identifier that has been stored that can be used for future reference to get to the form directly. We now switch over, and the students themselves will be filling out the responses. In this case, student 3 has received an email. This is the second one because we ran it earlier for testing purposes. But student 3 will receive the form to fill out. They will be told that they're going to be reviewing student 01 in the message body subject. They pick their ID, which is 3. They pick the student they're reviewing, and then they fill in the questions. In this case, the first question was, did the student clearly identify categories of the elements? I give them a 5. Did the student identify key difference in element behaviors? A 4. Did the report clearly detail atomic structure for each category of element? Did really well on that. I give them a 6. Did the report summary detail conclusions effectively? It did a pretty good job. I'll give them a 5. And here it allows me to provide any additional comments for the student. The student did a fairly good job. However, the graphs were a little difficult to see because they were very small. The student has finished the peer review. They click Submit. Confirm that they do indeed want to send it and get confirmation that their response has been sent. They can close this screen here. We'll go back to the sheet as the teacher, and notice now there's a Form Responses tab that was generated by the system. And notice that Reviewer 3 has sent back a response for Student 1, and here are the responses for each of the questions. Here's the question statement and the responses provided in the rubric. It's a little difficult to read here because it doesn't do any formatting for us, so just for readability, I will go ahead and format that. Now it's a little easier to read. Each of the students would in turn submit their responses and they would collect on this sheet. Here's an example of a class that has been filled out completely, represents an entire class of responses. The teacher would be able to review all the responses here and check for any inappropriate responses. Once the entire class has responded and the teacher has reviewed them to make sure that there's nothing they need to address, they're ready to send the responses, the feedback back to the students that have been reviewed. In order to do that, they would then click on Send Responses. Whatever information is in this Form Responses tab will be mailed back to the student is being reviewed. In this case, student S001. Once they've been sent back, each of the students would be able to see the responses they received. So let's go to student 01's mailbox and notice that he has a new response for feedback, and it shows here the class name, the teacher name, the student's name, which is okay for him to see because it's their own identity, their ID, the description of the assignment, each rubric question with the responses of the student that reviewed them. At this point, the peer review cycle is complete and we are done. If you would like to contact me to ask any questions or request a copy of this form, please feel free to reach me at mbenshaepens@gmail.com. Thank you very much.